Hello, we ghosties. I'm Chance Lee.
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
And this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. Put on your ballet flats and look before you leap. Our minds are in Suspiria. Na, 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 na. Suspiria.
Roses are red, violets are blue, but the iris is the flower that will mean the end of
you. You can run from Suspiria. You can hide from Suspiria. Suspiria. But you cannot escape Suspiria. The only thing more terrifying than the last 12 minutes of Suspiria are the first 92.
This is the 35th anniversary of Dario Argento's Suspiria, released in 1977. It stars Jessica Harper as Susie Banyan, Joan Bennet as Madame Blanc, and Alida Valli as Miss Tanner, and an overdubbed Udo Kier as Dr. Mandel. We'll talk about the dubbing later. Suspiria was written by Argento and Daria Nicolodi, who would later marry him and be the father of his daughter, Asia Argento. And this movie was inspired by a collection of essays by Thomas de Quincey, who I feel like was probably mentioned in a British literature class I took, and I skipped that lesson maybe, because none of this looked familiar. But he has this essay called Levana and Our Ladies of Sorrow, which served as the inspiration for Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy, which I think was like a retroactive trilogy. So Suspiria, Inferno in 1980, and a movie called Mother of Tears in 2007.
Oh, wow.
So De Quincey was a famous 19th century writer and opium addict, which explains the phantasmagoric effects of this movie and the lack of cohesion, which is a strength. But I find it really fascinating. This is the same year House came out. What was going on?
What was in the water?
In Italy and in Japan. Because these movies are real strong spiritual cousins. And as we mentioned on the House podcast, this is when Star Wars came out. So you really had to be paying attention to movies to know that Suspiria was a thing.
Exactly.
Gene Siskel wrote about it, and they've scanned the article on Wikipedia if you go into the footnotes. So it was fun to read this. But he wrote about 20th Century Fox was the international distributor for this movie. And they were also the producer of Star Wars. So they scrubbed their name from this movie to not be associated with it. And Gene Siskel said that he thought that was them trying to hide themselves from being a producer of, quote, sleaze. He hated this movie. He criticized it for mostly depicting violence against women, which is fair. But he also just totally spoils the ending. He says, to save you $4, which is how much they're charging for a movie these days, here's what happens.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, oh wow, he really hated this. According to Wikipedia, though, this film was Fox's 7th highest grossing movie that year. I mean, maybe they only released 8 movies. I didn't dig into it, but they weren't cranking out movies every week like they do now.
Seriously.
And out of all of Dario Argento's films, Suspiria was his highest grossing in the United States. Have you seen any other Dario Argento movies?
I don't believe so.
No, I haven't either. There's a couple I've tried to watch, but I can't get on the wavelength. Like I have with Suspiria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are any of the other ones in English?
I think so.
Okay.
That's the interesting thing. I don't know if they're in English because they've been dubbed.
Right.
Or
if they were filmed in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie was like filmed in English but by Italian people.
Yes.
And then redubbed sometimes by the actors themselves, which I guess was a practice of Italian movies.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if they just didn't
Like
have the
a spaghetti
technology
western kind of thing.
to record, but often actors would redub their own lines.
Yeah.
And then some of the actors, though, are redubbed by other people
Yes.
entirely.
Yeah.
But then the movie, when it was released in Italy, was redubbed in Italian.
So many layers of...
Yeah, so I guess Argento was upset because he really liked Jessica Harper's voice and her delivery, and a completely different actress does it in Italian. So no Italians have actually heard her performance when this came out.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Is Jessica Harper Italian or American?
She's American.
Okay, I
She's
thought so.
American. Yeah. And I only know her from this.
Yeah.
And from her delightful early chapter books that she's written for children.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've mentioned on the podcast, work as a children's librarian. And once I was shelving some books and saw that there's a series called Uh-Oh, Cleo. This one I'm holding is called I Barfed on Miss Kenley. And it's by Jessica Harper. And I thought, why does that name sound so familiar?
Right.
And I Googled the name and I was like, oh, that's the name of the actress from Suspiria.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it is the actress
Which is
from
so
Suspiria.
wild because it's like a common name too. So like the fact that it wasn't just, oh, they happen to share the same name. It literally is her.
Literally
Yeah.
her. And the books are actually quite cute.
Yeah.
This one opens. The thing about Mrs. Kenley is she doesn't deserve to get barfed on, especially not when she's wearing a fur coat. Of course, it had to be me who barfed on her. So it's about this girl and just like typical, well, not, childhood embarrassments.
Yeah.
Got cute illustrations. So, if you're a big Suspiria fan and
Yeah.
you've got kids and they're too young for Suspiria,
Yes.
introduce them to Jessica Harper with
Yeah.
with Uh-Oh, Cleo.
Yeah.
I like this illustration of this
Ooh, that's
like,
kind of creepy.
hairy-chested and hairy-backed
Yeah.
pool instructor.
Oh, I really like that.
Kind of like giving it Fonzie, like 2 thumbs up.
He looks very Italian.
Mr. Jarvis.
Maybe she was very influenced.
She says he has a really hairy chest, and when he puts his arms around you, it's like you're getting a swim lesson from a bear.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Italians, but
Well,
you
it's
know.
true. It's true.
You know what you did.
It's true.
Yeah, if Suspiria was a children's book, how do you think it would? Do you think it would be like very
Ooh.
Dr. Seussy, like crazy?
Yeah, I totally could.
Yeah,
It totally could.
right. Like 1 neon peacock, 2 peacock quills.
Oh, yes, the peacock quills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be very colorful.
Uh-huh.
That kind of like neon
Yeah.
picture book style.
Right, right.
There's an illustrator I like, Greg Pizzoli, and his books are very neon.
Yeah.
I could see him illustrating a children's book version of Suspiria.
Right. It'd be like,
And
oh no, she fell into a big bowl of spaghetti. It's the scene where she falls
Yes! She's just covered in red.
Oh no.
Yes, that would be good. And yeah, it doesn't have to make sense.
No.
Just like a Dr. Seuss book.
That would actually be a really fun children's book. How long will this take to leave the domain? You should make this into a children's book.
As soon as Suspiria is public domain.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe the licensing isn't that expensive.
Exactly.
There's a Die Hard picture book.
Oh.
I mean, it's mostly for adults, but...
Okay, it's one of those.
It's one of those,
No.
but it does exist.
Yeah, you need to make a Suspiria children's book for
Suspiria
children.
Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
For
love
little
that.
witches out there.
Yes.
All the little witches.
Oh, so cute. And promising ballet dancers.
I mean, there's a pretty heavy overlap there,
Yes.
I think. They might not want to
Probably.
admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever met someone who was an adult dancer who wasn't also a little funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's clearly where this idea comes from.
Oh,
You
definitely.
can't... We've all seen Black Swan. We
Yep.
know you can't get into ballet without being a little weird.
Yeah.
Oddly, though, Jessica Harper is the most normal
Yes.
character in this movie.
Yeah.
So let's get into our plot
Anyways,
summary.
yeah.
So, I mean, mostly the plot summary, we'll go through it,
Yeah.
but it's not coherent,
No.
and that is fine.
Yeah. It's similar to House in that.
It's very similar to House in
Yeah.
that things happen.
Yes. They just happen.
They just happen. And it's more about the mood and the lighting.
Yes.
and the colors and the music.
Yes. Oh my
I'm not that big into music, and I wouldn't say the scores of movies generally stand out for me. But the score of this movie is a character.
I'm the same. I don't usually notice music, but I notice it in this movie. You can't not notice it. It's shoved in your face, really.
It's very loud.
Yes.
And then it's not.
Yeah.
They cut off the music at a lot of really great parts.
Yeah.
So the movie begins with Jessica Harper's character, Susie Bannion.
Yeah.
She is an American. She's flown into Germany. It's just a dark and stormy night.
Love it.
She is walking through the airport in these really cute puce slingbacks.
Ooh.
They're really cute shoes.
Yeah.
I love the color puce, by the way.
Okay.
Which is kind of like a pinkish brown color. But listen to this.
Okay.
So Oxford English Dictionary says that puce is the French word for flea. And the color is said to be the color of bloodstains on linen or bed sheets after being laundered or after a flea has been crushed.
Wow.
Which is disgusting. But I love that that's the origin of this color.
Seriously.
So she has these really cute puce shoes on. I learned puce shoes, I think, from Sesame Street. So I stuck with me.
I was wondering, like, wow, that was a really impressive pull
They
there.
didn't tell me all the stuff about fleas.
Yeah.
Elmo wasn't like, and then you crush the fleas and make the puce shoes. But you know how we love a good shoe.
Yes.
We love a good shoe on That's So
love a
Gothic.
shoe.
So she's running through, and this music is playing. And I'll put a clip of the music in so you can listen to it. But the music plays, but then only when the doors, the sliding doors open.
Yeah.
And then when they close, the music stops.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they open and you hear the music. And it's just, it really sets this tone.
Yeah.
So she gets in the cab and they take her to this dance studio and there's a girl who's saying something.
Yes.
And she runs off into the rain and then they won't let Susie in. So she just goes away. And then they cut to follow this girl who's escaped.
Yes.
She goes to stay with her friend in this gorgeous Art Deco apartment building.
So stunning.
The colors, the patterns,
Yes.
everything is so bright and vivid in this movie. And she has this, you learn more about her later, but she's scared in this dance studio. She thinks they're up to something.
Yes.
She thinks something is after her. So she's staying with her friend. And then this like big hairy arm pulls her against the window.
The swim instructor.
And it's Mr. Jameson or whatever. It's the swim instructor.
Oh my.
It really is. Jessica Harper was probably like,
Yeah.
Can you watch Suspiria and draw that for Mr. Jarvis?
Or she's trying to humanize the character in Suspiria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he has a life too.
Yeah.
He likes swimming and murdering women in their apartment
Exactly.
buildings.
Yeah.
So he's multifaceted.
Exactly.
And he like smushes her face against the glass in this really grotesque way and then like stabs her a lot. They have this really gross scene where they show him like stabbing into her heart.
Yeah. The heart's like beating.
Yes.
And, like squelching once again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he it just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
He ropes a noose around her neck.
Yeah.
Sends her through a skylight.
Yep.
And then the friend is screaming for help. And then the
Yes.
friend gets cut to death
She's
by
all,
the
like,
skylight glass.
Huge pieces of glass sticking out of her.
There's a piece of glass right in the middle of her
Yeah.
face. And the blood is just like cherry Kool-Aid.
Yes.
Bright but thick.
Yes.
And just, it looks like red paint. It's so beautiful. But it's both graphic and like it's stomach turning and completely non-realistic at the same time.
Exactly.
Which is so, normally it's the realistic stuff that gets to me, but this still like is icky.
Yeah.
So then we end up being back at the dance studio. Susie meets everyone, like Madame Blanc. She's the not matriarch, but like, I guess the owner of the dance academy.
There's kind of like weird hierarchy there.
So I took dance lessons as an adult for a while, and I won't say where, but the place had their own Madame Blanc.
Okay.
Let's say, who could, I feel like these women were dancers in their youth. And then dance is a rough sport. You peak at like, I don't know, 23.
Right.
It's unforgiving.
Yes.
And so then probably you become a dance teacher. And then you become the business owner.
Yes.
But you still have these very rigid ways in which you do things.
Yeah.
So, and then all the other dance instructors talk about the crazy owner behind their back. So that's Madame Blanc.
Great.
And then we have Miss Tanner. Who's the very severe dance instructor.
Yes.
She has this tight.
I was going to say, you can tell because of her hair.
Her hair is so pulled back.
Yes.
She kind of looks like Mr. Burns as Gary Oldman's Dracula, like when they parodied that on The Simpsons.
Yes.
She has these two big like curls on either side and real steely eyes and like big teeth.
Yes.
She's really intimidating. There's Pablo, the ugly Romanian handyman. That's how they describe him. Olga, who's the roommate, whose voice does not sound like it is coming from that girl's body.
Yeah. It's very...
Her voice is very weird.
Yeah.
Everybody's very greedy and trying to make money. And so there's all this like stuff that's happening just for the sake of stuff happening. They're like, Susie, your room's not available. So you need to stay with Olga.
Right.
And so
like in town.
Yeah. And so she's staying with Olga. Olga has this really cute floral wallpaper that almost looks like a photo negative. Like the flowers look like they're the wrong colors.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, but Susie, now your room is available.
Yeah.
And Susie's like, I still want to stay with Olga. And Miss Tanner admires her strong-willed spirit. And then they have... the really nice, I love the dance room.
Yeah,
because it has the wooden floors and then these wooden planks on the walls that are at an angle. Yes.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So Susie, weird stuff starting to happen with Susie. There's like this, there's this beastly woman like making food. Like she's like a housekeeper. And there's this weird little boy.
Is it the nephew or something?
I think the nephew's the hot one.
Oh, interesting.
Because Madame Blanc has a hot nephew. Who they imply only has this job because he's Madame Blanc's nephew.
Yes, definitely.
And then there's the weird housekeeper, and then the boy who kind of looks like a little boy who loves berries and cream. Remember those Starburst ads? Berries and cream.
Yeah, he was a little lad. You're right.
Yes, a little lad.
He was a little lad.
He's a little lad who loves berries and cream, but blonde.
Yes.
And they like flash this knife at Susie, and then next thing you know, she's like woozy, and she's
fainting and
she's trying to dance, and I'm like, and it's really nice the way they film it because poor Jessica Harper is just like flouncing drunkenly around the room. And I was like, maybe they're doing this to disguise the fact that everyone else is a professional dancer.
Yes, because you never see her feet. You never see her lower half. Yeah.
But then I noticed, though, she's on point before she falls. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Right. But you never see her dance in this movie.
Yeah.
But I think I only noticed that because I've seen it so many times. But she collapses and like blood's coming out of her face. And so that's what forces her to then stay at the academy. And so she's sleeping and there's, they room her with Sarah. So that's a new character. Sarah's one of the few nice people at the dance academy.
She seems very sweet.
She helps Susie out. She has this lighter that has a clock in it that comes into play later. And then we just kind of get this series of weird things happening. So like maggots come out of the ceiling. It's so gross.
Oh my God. And, like, at first, like, you don't know if they're hallucinating, and then they definitely aren't, because everyone's in the hall, and they're just screaming and tearing maggots off of their face. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and they're all real.
Yeah.
Because, Susie's combing her hair, and they've fallen into her hair, and she has maggots in her comb.
Oh, my
and
God.
all the girls are running around screaming and covered in maggots, and they blame it on some, like, spoiled food that was in the attic.
Yeah.
She's like, why are you keeping that in the attic anyway? And so they make all the girls sleep in this, like, common room in the studio.
Right.
And there's this weird shadow. Yeah. And Sarah's like, that's the directress.
And you can tell because of the the whistle as she snores.
That's right.
Yeah, she's like... It's a very classic cartoon.
Yes. And no one's ever seen her before,
No.
but she's the alleged directress of this. So it's like, then that throws the whole thing into confusion.
Yeah.
It's like, then who's Madame Blanc?
Exactly. That's where, like, the hierarchy, I was like, what the hell? Yeah, so there is the head honcho, but then Madame Blanc, and then, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
and
she's there.
And so so then the next day, they get really mad, and they, there's a piano. There's a piano in this one.
Yep.
They have a piano player.
Yep.
He's blind.
Yes.
Which is really interesting. And he has this German Shepherd guide dog.
Yeah.
And the dog bites the nephew or something.
Yeah.
Or they get mad at him and they fire him.
Yeah, he's out.
And so he is walking home one night in this gorgeous plaza.
Yeah.
And he hears this noise, and then the Suspiria music starts coming up again.
Yep.
And he's looking around, he's blind, but the camera's looking around. And the dog is barking.
Yeah.
And he's like, who's there?
Yeah.
And there's like a gargoyle on top of a building that the camera keeps focusing on.
Yeah.
And at one point, the camera swoops down from the angle point of view of the gargoyle.
Right.
And you think he's going to get attacked by the gargoyle.
Yep.
And it really plays with you for a really long time.
Yeah, it's a long scene.
Until the dog
Yep.
rips his throat out.
Flips out, kills him. So good.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was so offended because I was like, no, not the dog. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, yes,
Yes.
get him.
And and they do this gross thing where they put the guy just at a camera and then have the dog eating some sort of meat,
raw
and it's real
meat.
stringy and stretchy.
You can hear the dog like,
Yes.
Yep.
Very effective.
yeah.
And they had I think the housekeeper, they did something, you can see them do something with the dog in a prior scene. So they're able to like hypnotize or do something to people. And meanwhile, they're drugging Susie.
Yeah,
they always make her drink this wine before bed.
To build her blood.
Is that what they say?
Like every time I drink wine now, I'm just like, I'm building my blood.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
If I get sick, I want to be bed rest and wine.
Yeah, I need to build my blood.
Build your blood.
Get me some $5 chuck.
I love that. Well, you think like it's interesting because so many wine names are blood related. Like sangria is sangre, which is blood.
Yeah.
And then I think claret is a wine term that also comes from blood or vice versa.
Does wine have iron in it at least?
I don't know. It's just grapes, right?
It's just grapes.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Maybe it has iron from. I was going to say from the cork. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Just chew on
whatever
the cork.
minerals are in cork and the
Anemics,
bleached
you've heard it
into
here.
the wine. Yes.
Just chew on cork.
Just chew on cork. But at least it'll give you fiber.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Sarah, so Sarah's the friend.
Yeah.
She's gotten really curious about what's going on in the dance theater. Susie's
Very
no help
nosy.
because she's been drugged.
Yeah.
And then she stole a notebook or she'd been taking notes.
Yeah.
Oh no. So it's the dead girl from the beginning. She found her notebook.
I missed that, yeah.
She found her notebook and then it disappeared. So someone clearly knows that Sarah is on to them.
Yes.
So they start chasing her through the dance studio.
Yep.
And there's this like comically long scene where she's in this closet and
Yes.
they have this very slowly just trying to lift the latch. So the door locks from the inside with like a bar
Yeah.
on
Like
a hook.
like just a bathroom, like every bathroom in America where it's just like
the latch.
That's it.
Yes, like you at the beach or something.
Yes.
And this person has like a flat, like butter knife.
Yeah, I think
looking
it's like a
thing.
butter knife. Yeah.
And instead of just flicking it up,
Yeah.
they're like they keep missing.
Yes.
And this goes on for like 3 minutes.
It's not even like so much that they're missing. They're on it and they're just not lifting it enough.
And they drop it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it clink, clink,
So
clink.
good, yeah.
And it's silly and spooky at the same
Yeah.
time because you keep hearing the clinking.
Right.
And because eventually the music stops and all you hear is that clinking.
Yep.
And Susie sees a window and she stacks all this luggage up
Yep.
and climbs up and goes into this other room.
Yep.
And then like steps down onto a box.
Yep.
And then jumps down like a foot.
Yeah,
Not
not far.
even.
Not far.
Not even.
Yeah.
And boom, she is tangled up in razor wire.
Yes. In spaghetti.
It's loops of it.
Yes.
And she's just writhing around.
Oh.
And the door is open.
Yep.
And she's trying to get to the door.
Yep.
But the razor wire is just cutting her to bits.
Uh-huh.
And then the killer comes in and like slices her
Yes.
throat open.
It's so good. At one point she like does stand up and you're like, yes, yes, and then she just falls right back
falls
down.
backwards into the razor wire.
Yep.
And it's like the light is on.
Yes.
Like this room is not pitch black.
No.
It's like if you jumped off your coffee table and there was just like I don't know how she didn't see it. Why there's razor wire in this room.
That's my razor wire room. You don't have one of those?
Of course my dance studio had a razor wire
Of course, it has
room.
to. It has to.
Yes.
Actually, what if they were banana strings?
Oh,
Yeah.
cut your own string?
Yeah.
One big long string. Because it all just looks like one big long thing.
They like very like Rumpelstiltskined it and like,
Yes,
just
on,
kept
like-
pulling and pulling.
Yes, and
Yeah.
cutting them. That would last them an eternity.
A very long time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But also at the same time, you're like, ow, that would hurt, even though it's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, right.
It's the best. That's another iconic scene from
Yeah.
this movie. So poor Sarah is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And Susie's like, where's Sarah? And they're like, she went home.
Yeah. Oh no, I think too they're even like she just abandoned us. She's like trying to like lay it on thick. No, she abandoned us. What will her parents think? They entrusted us with her.
Yes.
It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have a razor wire room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, these sensitive dance, they're very protective
Yeah.
Protective of their students even when they're murdering them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
they'd rather have her dead than go to a different dance academy, I bet.
Oh yeah.
So Susie goes to see like this psychologist
Yeah.
who I guess she heard about the dead girl from the beginning.
Yes.
Would see him.
Yes.
He's played by Udo Kier,
Uh-huh.
who's in a few movies. He's very young and like smoldering
Yes.
in this, but his job is just to tell her in someone else's voice because he's overdubbed by another actor.
Yes. Yes.
The like lore
Yeah.
of this movie.
He's background.
He
Yeah.
is Mr. Dr. Exposition.
Yes.
And he says that the dance academy was founded by Helena Marcos,
Yes.
who was known as the Black Queen. But then she died in a fire, and the dance academy was taken over by a pupil. And he does not believe the poor dead girl from the beginning that there were witches.
Yeah.
He says that bad luck isn't brought by broken mirrors, but by broken minds.
I really like that line.
It's a good quote.
Yeah.
I like how he calls the occult the occult. That's what the voice actor says, the occult.
Ah, cool.
And he introduces her to someone named Professor Milius, who wrote a book called Paranoia or Magic
Ooh.
about the occult. And it's like they couldn't just have one guy deliver
No.
exposition. It's like, let's call in this other
We
guy
need another old white guy
to give more exposition.
Yeah.
And he has bad hair.
Yup.
He looks like a crazy academic. And Susie asks him about covens and stuff.
Yeah.
And they talk about witches. But anyway, that's their way of letting you know there's witches.
Yeah.
So Susie gets back to school and like everybody's gone. The whole place is deserted.
Yep.
They've all gone to like a show.
Yeah.
And she decides she's going to throw out her food because I guess she's
Yeah.
realized it's poisoning her.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things where I'm like, is this the style of the movie?
Yeah.
Or was the wine they were making her drink that thick? 'Cause
That
she
viscous.
pours it out, and it's like when
Yeah.
your Jell-O doesn't set all the way, like, and she's trying to rinse it out of the sink
Yeah.
with her hands, and it's just leaving all these streaks and making her
she
fingers
cannot
pink.
wipe it up. Yeah.
Yes. And she flushes all the food down the toilet,
Yeah.
which I
It
found.
makes like a very satisfying when
Yes.
it like hits the water. Yeah, that's very nice.
Once I was staying at a hotel in Foxwoods,
Oh, okay.
and we flushed half a cheeseburger down the toilet. Which is even more satisfying because she just had a little bits and pieces.
Yeah, she had like a little piece of fish.
Yeah, we had this big cheeseburger that was really gross that we got at one of the restaurants, and then for some reason put it in a takeout container, even though we were not going to eat it. And the toilet, I don't know, the toilet at Foxwoods, it's kind of like the airplane toilet.
Oh.
Where you flush it, it's just...
Yeah, it's like the banking tubes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we put the cheeseburger down there, we put all the fries down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to stay at Foxwoods.
Stay at Foxwoods and flush like get a whole dinner just to flush down the toilet. It's very satisfying. So she's flushed her little petite meal. And then she gets randomly attacked by a bat.
Yeah. Which that scene, again, is like very uncomfortably long. Like,
doesn't she put it in a blanket and like
she
stomp on it?
She puts the blanket on top of it and then like smashes something over it.
Yes.
And it like makes an awful noise.
Yeah.
I can't even kill a bug. Not because like I particularly like bugs, but because I hate the like texture when you kill a bug. I could not do that. I would let that bat kill me.
I couldn't crush a mammal, I don't think.
No.
That happens in The Witches with Angelica Houston.
Oh.
There's a lot of mice at the end of that movie, and they just try to stomp on them. And that really terrifies me.
Can't do that.
Stomping on a mammal.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, I can't do that
I
at
don't
all.
want anything crushing under my feet.
No. It's bad enough when it's like I came from Mississippi, a giant cockroach I can't do because they crunch.
Yeah.
No crunching.
No crunching.
Yeah, lots of bones in a mammal, so I can't do that. So she kills this bat, and then she hears these footsteps upstairs.
Yeah.
So some of the teachers are back.
Yeah.
And she like becomes very resourceful and is going to listen to their footsteps and figure out what room they're coming in and out of upstairs. She counts the footsteps, and she goes into this room, and it has this cute wallpaper and like a canopy bed. Yeah. And then she finally remembers what the girl at the beginning of the movie was saying.
Like a long conversation.
Yes, about turning the blue iris.
Yeah.
Find the secret door behind the blue iris.
Yes.
And so she looks around, and like if this were an escape room, it would be the first thing you would push because it clearly is a button.
So obvious.
Yeah, it's clearly a button.
Yeah.
It's like in Scooby-Doo when the background is painted and then one book is a different color.
Exactly.
And you know that's what they're going to pull. It's just like that.
Yes.
So she turns this blue iris and it opens a secret passage and she goes down there and there's Madame Blanc being fed and like watered, given a drink by Miss Tanner. But she's talking about how she wants Susie dead, wants her gone. And the lights flash and the little lad who loves berries and cream is there. All the housekeepers are there, and the ugly Romanian guy is there. And he has Sarah's lighter. So you know he's the one who killed her. Maybe he killed the girls at the beginning. And then Susie finds Sarah's body all cut up. And it has these needles in her eyes, right in the pupils. Really gross. And so the music's playing, the loud Suspiria music is playing, and Susie's running down the hall. And then she gets back into the room where the blue iris is and closes the door, and the music just stops. And it's like, oh shit. It's so fun that this movie is like the opposite. It's like when you're at the most heightened tension, instead of a quick music jump scare like we talked about with Woman in Black, this just goes silent.
Exactly, which is so much more anxiety inducing.
Yes, it's so much creepier. And so she hears that snoring. Do the snore again.
Oh, I don't know.
which is the scary snoring of a witch.
Yeah.
And she sees a shadow behind the like curtain of the canopy bed, and it's Helena Marcos, who like taunts Susie and brings Sarah back as a zombie.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how. I've seen this movie like 4 or 5 times. I always forget that happens.
Yeah.
And it's like the scariest part of the movie.
Really creepy.
She's so creepy. She
Yeah.
comes out. She's got the needles in her eyes.
Yes.
She's all cut to shit. She's got this knife.
Yep.
But yeah, she knocked over Susie had knocked over that peacock.
Yes. A
And-
neon fluorescent peacock.
Yes.
I love that. Not only is it in this movie, but then, you know, like you'll say, it becomes crucial to the plot.
Yes.
Too. Oh,
It's great set design.
it's so good.
Because it's both really tacky, but also totally fits right in with
Yep.
everything else.
Exactly.
And yeah, so Susie gets one of the needles, because the feathers are also needles.
Yeah.
Maybe they're supposed to be hairpins.
Oh,
maybe
maybe.
that's what they are, like
Yeah.
for the dancers. But it's very sharp.
Yep.
And like lightning strikes, and she sees the outline of the invisible witch.
Yep.
And she just like lunges with the needle and like pierces her neck.
Ugh.
And then she becomes visible, and she's like this rotting
Yep.
corpse.
Yeah.
And then like the whole house starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
Like the place is cracking. Susie has to run out. And then like she runs out into the rain.
Yeah.
Just like at the beginning.
Yep.
And she's like kind of laughing that she's made it through this
She's done
crazy
it.
incident. And the place just like blows up and burns to the ground, and the credits roll.
Exactly. Wonderful.
It's great.
It's so good.
It's great. We don't need anything
No,
else.
you have no idea if the rest of the dancers are dead. You have just nothing.
Nothing.
Yep.
But the witch is gone.
Yep.
The dance studio is burned, and Susie made it.
Yeah, and that's all that matters.
That's all.
And her hair still looked amazing.
Jessica Harper is really gorgeous.
So beautiful.
She does a really great job with this movie,
Yeah.
especially considering she also had to overdub a lot of her own lines.
Yeah. She had to do twice the work.
Yeah, I find her really impressive in
Yeah,
this.
she's really good.
She's very good at giving a character that doesn't really have a lot of personality,
Yeah.
a sense of depth
Yeah.
and purpose.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
She's wonderful.
So we will take a short break, and then we will come back with our Gothic Roundup. All right, we ghosties, we are back with our Gothic Roundup for Suspiria, 1977. Every Gothic movie has to have 4 elements: a girl, a guy, a haunt, and a house. Who's our girl?
Susie.
Susie Bannion.
Love her.
Susie Bannion, I like that name.
Yeah.
Flows right off the tongue.
Really nice, yeah.
Banyan is kind of like a tree, I think, but I think it's spelled differently here, so it doesn't have anything to do with it. But it sounds nice.
Yeah.
She's resourceful.
Yes.
She's American.
Yep.
She's going to get the job done.
Yep, an American in Germany.
American in Germany in an Italian movie.
Yes.
Yes, it's such a weird melange of
Yeah, it
cultures.
is.
We don't really have a guy, though.
No.
This is another one. We're guyless.
Yeah. Except for the little lad.
The little lad who loves berries and cream.
Yeah.
Because there is the cute nephew, but they
Yeah.
don't really do anything with that.
No.
There are a lot of cute male ballerinos.
Yeah. I always forget that there is sort of a love interest thing, but
It doesn't go
it
anywhere.
doesn't go anywhere. He could be dead.
I think he's in the room with Madame Marcos.
Oh, is he?
I think so. So I think he
Yeah.
ends up burning with all of them. I think
well.
he's in on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some other. I remember when I learned that the male term for ballerina is ballerino. Vinny Ballerino. So you have a prima ballerina and a
Yeah.
primo ballerino.
Oh. Ooh.
So that's the like male version of a ballerina.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't really have a guy.
No.
But we do have the iconic haunt of
Yes.
Madame Marcos.
Yeah.
According to Jessica Harper, the actress who played the witch was a 90-year-old ex-hooker that Dario found on the streets of Rome.
I love that so much. I cannot even express how much that like makes me happy.
Yes. Good for her.
Yeah.
You know, iconic role. We just see her covered in rotten flesh.
Yes, I feel like she was waiting for that role.
Wait.
Like the way she delivers the lines, she was waiting
Yes.
90 years for
Yes.
that role.
Yes.
Oh,
So, and she's not even credited. So, you know,
Aw.
thankless job. But
Yeah.
I'm glad Jessica Harper was able to tell us about that.
and go on to write a children's book.
Go on to write children's books.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, so there's 3 different witches.
Mm-hmm.
So and this, I guess Argento retroactively works this into a trilogy. So Mother Marcos is known as Mother Suspiriora or Suspiriorum or something. So that's where the title comes from.
Interesting.
And they get into this more in the remake. They lean more into this lore.
Interesting.
But then Argento made 2 other movies that are about these 2 other witches. There's like Mother Lacrimosa, which is like the mother of tears.
Ooh.
And then another one who I don't remember. But
Okay.
none of that comes up in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like a retconned
Yes.
trilogy. But, I mean, dancers who are witches.
Yeah.
Who curse people.
Yeah.
All their kills are really good.
Oh, so good.
I think it's a solid... It's nice to have a haunt that isn't a ghost.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on at first.
Yeah. It's still a haunt in the sense that she's sort of almost omnipotent and like, you know, just sort of surrounds and is just kind of... She's just vibing everywhere.
Yes.
But yeah, not a haunt in a ghost way.
Yeah,
so
still supernatural though,
Yeah.
and that explains maybe why some of the weirdness is happening.
Yes.
Maybe there was no razor wire there until she jumped.
Maybe.
So they conjured it out of thin air.
Yeah.
Just like the maggots.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows? And then last, our house is the Dance Academy.
Yeah.
And I love the Dance Academy.
Oh, I love it so much. I don't think that there's, and this kind of, I guess, has more to do with at the beginning of the movie with like the apartment building and stuff like that, but it does have a little bit to do with the Dance Academy too. I don't know that there's anything creepier to me than like a modern building, but like empty and, you know, being in like a modern building and not having any help, like in dire, you know,
That's interesting.
It's very creepy to me, and that's what I get a lot. You know, obviously the apartment building, that was a very uncomfortable scene for me because the fact that she's running out into the lobby and there's, you know, dozens and dozens of doors, so you would assume dozens and dozens of people yelling for help, but no one comes.
No one's answering.
Very creepy to me. And then it's kind of the same thing with the dance studio. It's this modern, you know, it's well built. It's, you know, except for the maggot problem.
Whoops.
It's, you know, whatever.
Every place has bugs.
Exactly. That's just, you know, the housing market right now, I would take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, just the fact that it's, you know, it's this, and it's kind of like, you know, I almost feel like the the old witch is like trying to overcompensate and be hip with the house. She has like the neon tubes and like, you know, like she's trying too hard.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I'm young and hip just like you guys.
Right. Even though she's like 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
Or burned.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love the dance studio.
It's really nice.
Yeah. I know you said you like the dance room.
I love the dance room. That would be a good room to... I don't remember the... I don't like being in a dance room with no mirrors, and I don't remember mirrors in that room.
Yeah, I don't know if there are.
Which would be difficult.
Maybe one wall was mirrors?
Maybe it's the wall we don't really see.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it would be hard to film, of course, because you'd see the camera.
Exactly.
So maybe that's why. But, yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah.
And bonus gothic, we have our piano.
We do have one.
We have our piano.
Yep.
It very briefly gets played.
Yeah.
But the piano player meets a very memorable end.
Yes, yeah. It's not a super creepy piano, but it's still a piano.
It's still a piano.
It's still there.
And we do have a great soundtrack, not piano music.
Yeah.
I think the remake leans heavily into like some creepy piano music.
Oh, really?
But this one is more just like synthesizers.
Yeah. Which that would be a very funny gothic piano.
Yes.
Is like an 80s synthesizer.
Yes.
Where is that movie?
It does it, and it plays like that really popular song from like Beverly Hills Cop or something. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
While maggots are falling from the ceiling. But it somehow makes the synthesizer creepy.
Yeah, it
does.
Yeah.
The band is called Goblin, which is very appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they did, but the Suspiria soundtrack is their most popular
that makes sense.
thing. And I guess, I don't know how I did not recognize this, but the Suspiria, I almost said anthem, but the Suspiria theme is in the trailer for the 2011 Jane Eyre. That you can listen to if you go back and listen to the first episode of our podcast. They only play the first, like, there's these 3 notes that they play at the beginning. So they don't play the whole song, but they sample in the trailer.
Wow.
Which, that right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
retroactive bonus gothic.
I was going to say that, like, kind of changes my whole perspective Wow, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So the music, if you have not listened to it, it is worth a listen to.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is kind of like a 90-minute music video for this
it is.
album. And it really is just like the one song playing over and over again, but it never gets old.
No.
Never gets old. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with our final thoughts. Is it gothic? Let's see. All right, we ghosties, we're back with the results of our Gothic Roundup. Remember, all Gothic movies have to have 4 categories: a girl, a guy, a haunt, and a house. We have Susie Bannion. Mm-hmm. We do not have a guy, but we have Mother Marcos and a coven of ballet dancing witches and a gorgeous German dance studio and bonus Gothic, Pinano. So what do you think? Is it Gothic?
I think it's like a baby Gothic.
Gothish?
Like, I think Gothish. I think it has some Gothic influence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I was gonna say yes.
Yeah.
But I'm easily swayed, I guess. So no, I think it's true. A Gothish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gothish.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't call it a Gothic movie, but I would say it's a movie that has some Gothic influences and some Gothic parts.
Yes.
Personally, but I guess maybe the neon peacock really threw me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for me, a lot of the Gothic really hinges on the female character. And you do have her, even though there's no romantic interest, she's trapped in a place.
That is true.
Where weird shit is happening.
Yeah.
And she needs to get out
Based
on her own ingenuity and resources.
Yeah.
And so that's what really speaks to me about this.
She is a very good, like, Gothic, I don't want to say damsel, because... I mean, I guess maybe, but a damsel who saves herself kind of thing.
She is a little incapacitated throughout most of the movie because she's being drugged.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do much.
Yeah.
She literally just falls over during her first dance performance.
Faints beautifully.
Yeah, she does faint beautifully.
She's a very elegant woman.
She's very elegant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, somewhere around Gothish.
We'll stick with Gothish.
Yeah.
I think this is Gothish, but a pretty strong Gothish.
Yes.
If the dance studio were haunted, do you think it would be more Gothic? Like if it were ghost versus witches?
I don't know. I think if there were, gosh, that's a really good question. I can tell you that if it was ghosts and not witches, I'd like it less.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe more Gothic though.
Yeah.
But yeah, would that make it a better movie? No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Or maybe more Gothic if she was there. Like Felicity chasing a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
There's a Gothic horror right there, Felicity.
Yes. Or like it would have been, maybe a kind of cool motivation for her to go because like she was heartbroken or something. So she goes to the school and she's already depressed. But she goes in and she's like headstrong, ready to go, ready rearing, so.
I agree. I think it's Gothish, but making it more Gothic would make this a worse movie.
Exactly.
So great movie.
Yes.
Okay, Gothic. Awesome. Well, thank you for listening to our thoughts on the 1977 classic Suspiria. I definitely prefer this to Star Wars.
Agreed.
Please subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts. You can review us, give us a 5-star review, like us there. You can drop us an email at sogothicpod@gmail.com and follow us on Letterboxd and soon on Instagram, or maybe we'll be on Instagram already. We're recording this episode in advance, so check out our Instagram and see how we did.
Hold us accountable.
Join us next time when we will flash forward from 1977 to 2018 for the Suspiria remake starring Dakota Johnson and Mia Goth.
Yay!
That's so Mia Goth.
Yay!
All right, boo-bye. All right, we ghosties. I'm going to burp. These are good bloopers we're going to have.
Yeah.